Good morning. Welcome to my thought for the day. I'd like to talk about words this morning. Words are important. We use them all the time. And sometimes we say things without realizing what we're saying, which can cause problems. Um, and I was taught in business about the importance of words because when you're dealing with suppliers and clients, words, particularly if they're written, can have impacts, can have implications for the relationship, and even things I could say to a client could cause upset. So one had to be careful how one used words. And we were taught early on in my business life that if you're writing a letter and you have a lots of perhaps long words, think about not repeating them if possible. And so we'd have a thesaurus on our desk, all of us, and you'd look up an alternative word and use it. Nowadays, you just go online and look up alternatives, but it made the letter more interesting. And of course, words can be quite fixed in how they're used and what they mean. Part of my job was looking at contracts. Quite a bit of my job was looking at contracts, particularly contracts with clients. And you get a client would say, I've read the contract and you're not doing this or you're doing this. And my job would be to read that particular clause or sentence or paragraph the client refers to and interpret it and insist this is the way it was meant. And so I'd go into this semi-legal battle with a client on the interpretation of words. Sometimes it was black and white, it was just the client being awkward, wanting to get their way. Other times it was a poorly worded sentence, but I would have to defend my company's position, and I would be inflexible and quite determined to be the winner. And so people who know me, who work with me, the elders, Paula, my family will know I can at times be inflexible. I can be what's called pedantic. Pedantic. There's a word. Pedantic. Pedantic, which means excessively concerned with minor details or rules, over scrupulous. And it's an adjective. I had to think this morning, what does an adjective mean? So I looked it up on Google. Adjective. In linguistics, an adjective is a word that modifies a noun or noun phrase and describes its referent. A semantic role is to change information given by the noun. I could be pedantic and try and describe that to you, but it often means I'm awkward. I would defend my cause to the end and pick on minor things. And I'm accused many times, as I've seen on Zoom meetings, Barry, you break the rules. I very rarely break a rule. But what I do is, and Louise will give you many examples where she gets frustrated, I'll say, but this is what it says. This is what it says, A, B, C, D. That means, yeah, but you're taking it. Well, that's what they've said. That is what they've said. How can I take it differently? They've written it this way, and those words can mean the way I want it interpreted to be benefiting me. And I am a pedantic person. I will dig my heels in if I think something. I become inflexible. It's my strength, but it's also my weakness if you work with me. I come across awkward, which made me think about the Bible. And I want to read to you a portion from Colossians chapter 1, verses 15 to 23. I'm going to read it from the Good News Bible. This is where I first read it in the Good News, and it's always stayed with me. This is what it says. It's the person and work of Christ, Colossians 1:15. Christ is the visible likeness of the invisible God. He is the firstborn Son, superior to all created things. For through him God created everything in heaven and on earth, the seen and the unseen things, including spiritual powers, lords, rulers and authorities. God created the whole universe through him and for him. Christ existed before all things, and in union with him all things have their proper place. He is the head of his body, the church. He is the source of the body's life. He is the firstborn Son, who was raised from death in order that he alone might have the first place in all things. For it was by God's own decision that the Son has in himself the full nature of God. Through the Son, then God decided to bring the whole universe back to himself. God made peace through his Son's blood on the cross, and so brought back to himself all things, both on earth and in heaven. At one time you were far away from God and were his enemies because of the evil things you did and thought. But now, by means of the physical death of his Son, God has made you his friends in order to bring you holy, pure, and faultless into his presence. You must, of course, continue faithful on a firm and sure foundation, and must not allow yourselves to be shaken from the hope you gained when you heard the gospel. I've always gone to this passage about things I don't fully understand about creation and the battles of the unseen things, spiritual things seen and things not seen. But this one part, and it's verse 21 and 22 that have always just astounded me. I've read it in different translations where they've used the thesaurus to change a word, but I come back to this one because I want to be pedantic about it. At one time you were far away from God and were his enemies because of the evil things you did and thought. Absolutely true. But this is the verse 22. But now, by means of the physical death of his Son, God has made you his friends in order to bring you holy, pure, and faultless into his presence. And no matter how I can be, how pedantic I can be and awkward, I just love those words. By Christ's death on the cross, God has made me his friend. I don't need to say any more, really, do I? It's an incredible, what a clause in a contractual commitment here from God, if I looked at it that way. That he says, by me accepting Jesus as my personal saviour, I become a friend of God. Like Moses, Elijah, Elisha, King David, the disciples. I'm in that league of people by being his friend. I'm sorry I can be pedantic. I'm sorry I can be awkward and dig my heels in. But sometimes I get caught up in the minutiae, and other times I see the bigger picture which other people don't. But I will defend this line, this sentence of this contract that God gave to me. Believe in my Son, and you're going to be one of my friends. That's quite amazing, isn't it? Thought for the day? When you get a moment, stand, sit, kneel before God, and consider what it means to you, for you, to be a friend of God. It could take some time, but it's well worth it. Have a great day. God bless.